Thanks, legend. Cheers, mate. Yeah, what an honour. Sam and I were chatting last week. We're trying to get you another microphone, mate. Have a seat. I know you're old. We just found out he's a year older than I am, so he's way older. There we go. Look at you go.
Does it work? Yeah, we're on.
We'll figure that out. Ladies and gentlemen, I was chatting to Sam last week at Red Bull Hardline, and coming here this week, you know, Sam's been one of the most iconic figures we've ever had in Australian mountain bike riding. There's so many people here this weekend, and who's been a part of the mountain bike industry and scene that now has kids that are coming here, and we've been inspired by Sam, and now the next generation definitely deserves to be inspired by Sam over the whole time. Sam, oh man, you've done a bit. There's been a bit on.
Yeah, I've ridden my bike around the place.
8 World Championships, 3 Enduro World Series Championships. There's a couple of World Cup overalls in there, a couple of World Champs, Juniors. You've done a bit. You just did Red Bull Hardline last weekend. That was a pretty cool experience. How was that? And tell us how that compared to your very first, essentially, Red Bull Hardline with Joyride back in 2003.
Yeah, obviously I've done a lot of racing. Been a long time racing all around the world, and yeah, Hardline was definitely a bit of a different experience. As much as a race, it was so enjoyable just to be there and to make it to the finish line on finals day. But yeah, just the whole week there, sort of ticking off the features and working together with the other riders and learning the track and then getting comfortable on it, and then yeah, just a few brown marks in the jocks early on, and then it started getting a bit more fun, and stoked to make it out of there alive and looking forward to this week. But all in all, it's a completely different event to I guess the Red Bull Ride it was called back in 2003 in Jindabyne, which was super cool. I sort of threw myself into that pretty early and didn't know what to expect, and ended up winning that, and that's what sort of the prize money from that I've paid to go to the World Cups the next year. So
whoa, no way.
It's kind of what started it, and then doing Hardline last week is kind of, I don't know when the end is the end, but...
Oh, don't say that. Wait, don't say that.
I'm probably never retiring, but I'll turn up to random things and have a go now and again. So yeah, it's definitely cool coming sort of full circle with it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks, we're done. No, I'm kidding. Well, how cool is that? I mean, 2003, you had your first trip to Caproon in 2001, I think it was. 2002. What a journey it's been back to that stage. Let's go back to the start of that circle. Back then you were riding an Intense M1, one of the most iconic bikes of the downhill scene back then. What do you remember from that bike and those races back in that day?
Yeah, I was just a young kid, sort of chasing a dream and didn't even realise where it was going at the time. Prior to that, 2001 was the first year I'd done like a full Australian National Series, and round 2 was here at Thredbo. That was probably the first ever race where I got on a chairlift, and it's just a young kid just frothing it. So yeah, it's crazy to see where it's come. Went and raced Worlds for Australia as a junior in Vail, Colorado that year, and then 2002 Intense gave me a bike, and I remember just waiting by the post box, and I was just a kid at Christmas time thinking what's going to turn up, and full Chris Cavaric spec Intense M1, the riding gear, everything, and was absolutely stoked to do that year, and got a bit more time overseas and managed to win Junior Worlds that year, and got a top 10 at the World Cup finals as a junior in the elite category. And just a kid living in the moment and having no idea where things are going.
I mean, it sounds pretty similar to Red Bull Hardline last weekend, just a kid hucking his meat off some of the biggest jumps in the world.
Yeah, an old man sending it.
Oh, same. Tell us about, what do you remember from those World Cups? What was the most daunting thing coming from Western Australia to take on the world? And back then, we just heard a story back from, I think 2000, maybe you raced at Blue Range at a World Cup. It was your first time to the East Coast.
Nationals, yeah.
It was the Nationals. What do you remember from those days, and then stepping into the World Cup as that greenhorn kid? It was somewhat reminiscent last weekend at Hardline.
Yeah, I think just being new to coming over east as a kid from WA, you kind of not really exposed to that side of things, and yeah, it's crazy experience. Everything, I don't know, it's like going to Disneyland or something. Like everything's so much bigger and brighter, and you just you're looking at it and just you're almost in a dream. But yeah, I think it's even the same experience for me going hardline last week. I've raced everything, enduros, World Cups, World Championships, and it's still the nerves in the start line they're still there, they're still kicking.
Now from that period, from the beginning, you pretty much changed the face of downhill mountain bike riding through the next couple of years. You've ridden that intense M1, you've ridden some of the most iconic bikes of all time. Talk us through your days on Iron Horse. Many of us have some fond memories about looking at those videos. Every time we see one of those videos pop up online, it gives everyone chills. It looks weird going back to 26-inch days, but back then you were unstoppable. What do you remember from those days and that particular bike, from the M1 to that?
Yeah, so 2003, so the Red Bull ride in Jindabyne was early, like January or something in 2003. I was still on my intense M1, and Nathan Rennie was there, and he just signed for all Mad Cats. And I kind of wasn't really sure what was going on, and spoke to the guy, and ended up just, because Rennie was there and Jared Graves and Bryn Atkinson, I felt pretty safe, and then ended up signing with that team for that year.
That's a safe lot, yeah, there, Jared Graves and Nathan Rennie.
Yeah, well, I learned a lot that year from them boys, but yeah, I guess getting on that team and sort of and developing the Iron Horse Sunday, which has become pretty iconic. Yeah, even like thinking back to what bikes were then to what they are now, it's progressed so much, and the way everything's sort of flown through, and even looking at the bikes we ride now and people race, and the kids growing up on these unreal bikes, it's so cool to see.
What do you remember was what do you think the most pivotal point was in that bike development? You've come through from, like we said, that intense M1, the Iron Horse Sunday, you went to Specialised on a demo back then, to New Proof, you went through the 26, 27.5, 29, mullet. In your opinion, what do you think the most pivotal point was in bike development through your career? And you also lived and raced through the Honda days, which was pretty groundbreaking as well.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if there's anything that stands out as being super pivotal. It's just constant sort of progression in the sport and the way bikes have progressed. Like one year you get new brakes that would be unreal, and then you'd be like, oh, my suspension's let me down, and then you get given a new front fork, and that's so good that it makes your rear suspension feel a bit crappy. So it's kind of just like gone in stepping stones, I think. And even like jumping to 27.5-inch wheels, that obviously made quite a difference over 26, and now people experiment with 29 and the mullet set up and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I look back at videos, and I'm not a tall person, but some of the guys you raced against, like Petey and Manar, they're quite a bit taller than me, and you see videos of them on a 26-inch bike, and it's pretty impressive that they rode it that fast.
Impressive is one word for it, although I don't think I've ever seen anyone go around a corner faster than yourself on that Iron Horse Sunday. That was definitely impressive. From the Iron Horse days, you come through a huge move in your career to the Monster Energy Specialised team, which also brought on Troy Brosnan.
Yeah.
What do you remember from those days? And do you pretty much claim all of Troy's success as your own now?
Definitely not. Yeah, I remember going to an Eagle Mountain National in Adelaide, and Troy was about that tall, I reckon. And the SRAM boys who always helped me out were helping me out there, and they were like, check out this kid. And I was like, yeah, he's pretty fast. He's fairly small though. And yeah, fast forward a year or so, and he came to Whistler, and I introduced him to the team, and he was just riding the little kind of crappy mongoose bike at the time. And then they took a chance with him and threw him on the team, and kind of feel like he's a bit of a younger brother, and threw him under my wing a bit and tried to help him where I could, and he's obviously grown into one of the world's best riders. And yeah, it's cool, even like hardline last week, I'm following him into stuff. and now it's roles reversed a bit. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see.
Was it a similar scenario, with Troy as what you felt with Jared and Nathan when you got your first start with Mad Cat's Iron Horse? Did you feel like it was your turn to give back and give Troy an opportunity?
Yeah, probably. I think, obviously Nathan had been around a few years on the scene. I think Brent and Jared were done a year or so before me, so we were trying to figure it out together. But yeah, definitely, I just like Troy's an awesome kid, and I like to help kids out if I can, and definitely try and bring the future of the sport through. So it's cool to see where he sort of started and where he is now.
Now, you had some fond memories through that whole period. Now you're back on an Empire Cycles specialised demo. Does it bring back any similar characteristics between those bikes from back in that day to 2025?
I think the current bike that I'm riding at the moment is pretty similar to my 2009, which was the first year on the specialised demo. Obviously geometry and reach and all that sort of stuff has grown a bit in the wheel size, but the way the suspension and everything handles is pretty close, I'd say.
So that through that period there, man, it's incredible to think of your career. And I remember the moment, was it 2014? I actually saw you with clip pedals at Sea Otter.
I don't reckon you did.
At Sea Otter, Monterey, in the downhill chute. Andrew Neethling was into him, saying, "Sam Hill on clip pedals." This was before we had phones. It makes us sound old. We couldn't take a phone and put it on the internet. Was that one and done? How many times have you ridden clipped pedals in your life?
That's probably the only time. No, it's actually, I think it must have been way earlier than that, maybe 2009, whenever the Worlds were at Stromlo.
Oh.
And I've kind of panicked a little bit with the way the track was and thought I probably need to learn how to do this. So I gave it a couple of weeks during the off season prior to going racing overseas, and then went back to the flat pedals, and by the time I thought about putting them back on, I was like, this is a bad idea.
Well, I saw it. I was there, and I've never seen you run clip pedals ever again. So from that period, from Monster Energy Specialised days, you went on to Chain Reaction Nuke Proof, and that evolved over the years. 2014, you won 2 World Cups, Mont-Saint-Anne and Maribel in France. They were your last World Cups. Half Gel, Norway. Was that the one that got away?
Yeah, there's been a few that have got away, but if I didn't race that way and have that mentality, then there'd probably be a lot more that I didn't win. So there's definitely, I look back at my career and there's ones that I wish I held it together, but I know that if I raced that way, there's ones that I wouldn't have won. So
I mean, the first one that comes to many of our minds is Val d'Isole, and every time I'm there, I look at that bottom corner off that huge sender to the inside, and I bring it up in the commentary just from last year when Emery Piron won. What do you remember from that day? What do you remember from that moment? It doesn't sting at all.
Just a little bit of heartbreak. Whoops. But no, it's just, as much as I wish things sometimes went different in my race runs, I know looking back at it, there's so many that I've kept together and I've won races because of the way I've raced. So as much as some of those races hurt to look back on, there's no regrets. That's the way I've approached my career in racing, and it's all or nothing.
Now, speaking of your approach, you've been one of the most talented, sneaky, secretive riders ever. The lines that you choose, you rarely ever practice them, and you translated that to Enduro back in 2017. 2016 was your first one, I think, 2015, 2016, and then 2017. How did you keep those lines so secret over the years, and how did that translate to Enduro, where it was probably even more important to have that line choice and that adaptation?
I think just obviously track walking, and you notice things and try and pick up any sort of advantage you can make on other guys. And there's definitely been a few spots over the years where something's maybe been a bit risky, and I've maybe tried to do it once or twice without many people around and sort of keep it in the back pocket for the finals. So I've definitely won a couple of races from keeping those things a bit close to the chest. And then go and switch into Enduro. I don't know if I had a lot of like sneaky-ish lines. It's more sort of trying to remember.
Mate, I was there. I saw the sneaky lines in Austria Petzen. It wasn't even a line. It's this big benched-in hillside, and Sam's just yeet up into the bushes. No worries. Like, there wasn't even... You couldn't even see that.
That's where you're supposed to go.
No, you're not. You did the same in Colombia as well. We come off this 35-foot drop. You couldn't walk. It was so slippery. Sam, no worries. I'm going to go on the inside. 30 feet inside of everyone.
Well, that's just the main line, mate.
It wasn't. I was there. I was in the trenches.
Yeah, well, I don't know. That's your problem.
It was, because Sam won and I was nowhere. From flat pedals, you'll never win enduro. And you went on to win 3 Enduro World Series championships. How was that?
It was pretty good. Yeah, I remember a guy from Shram, Dawson, told me if you win an enduro on flat pedals, I'll give you $5,000. So then, yeah, first one I won, I went up to him, said, "You owe me $5,000." I don't think he budgeted in for his yearly budget, so took him a few rounds to rustle that out of the ATM.
Now, you came in 2017, you won 2017, 2018, 2019 on the trot. 2017, we changed enduro. Years prior, we had unlimited practice. So for enduro, now we only have 1 practice run, but back in 2013, 14, 15, 16, you could have unlimited practices. You came in 2017. Was that a big advantage for you with that line choice and your skill set, the flat pedals?
To me, I wouldn't think it's an advantage. I think we all have the opportunity to walk a track. We all have the opportunity to do 1 practice run, and then you're into your race run. So I just kind of tried to study as much as I could of what I really needed to remember, because doing 7, 8 stages, trying to walk and trying to remember from your one practice run. Obviously, you run a helmet camera and you sit there in your bedroom at night and try to study it. It was more about trying to study the bits that would catch me out rather than try to study the whole track.
Okay.
And I'd try to remember where I didn't really need to pay too much attention and where I did. So just trying to limit mistakes and not run off the course or get caught up in anything that's going to take me down.
So not only did you change the face of downhill, but enduro, you changed the face of that and made us all walk for days and days and days. How important was that walking, knowing? And when you were spending, like, you would walk for 30, 40 kilometres before the race.
Yeah, well, I think, get 1 practice run and then your helmet cam run it. And I really didn't like trying to have to stop and figure stuff out when I was doing my 1 practice run. So to me, if you can walk a trail and try to remember it, it's as good as doing 3 or 4 practice runs and trying to sort of learn that. So yeah, the legs didn't enjoy it, but yeah, it was something that we needed to do to try and win, and yeah, it worked for us.
It definitely worked. Now, fast forward to 2019, yourself and I got caught in the transition from 27.5 to 29. We started the season in Derby on 27.5 bikes and got hosed. How difficult was it once we got 29ers fast-tracked to us in Madeira, in Portugal, I think it was? How difficult was the transition to 29ers for you from 27.5s and then the heyday of 26s?
Yeah, I think it's definitely it's quite an adjustment, to be honest, especially if you go like full 29 and get caught up in a bit of steep terrain. You definitely feel like the 29 wheels sort of pushing you forwards a lot. And then, yeah, obviously running the mullet setup, your wheels aren't the same size, they don't turn on flat terrain the same, so it's sort of trying to figure out what you prefer, I think, for myself. And yeah, I think that the year I mentioned, I ran the rest of that year on a 29 and then sort of experimented back and forth a little bit, and yeah, now we're on a mullet setup. But yeah, it's quite different. I think you can get away with either dependent on the rider and the riding style and the terrain of track you're on.
Over those next couple of years, 2019, you took out your 3rd on the trot Enduro World Championship. COVID hit, the world ended, has restarted. We saw you back here in 2022 racing downhill bikes, and now you're back here after Red Bull Hardline, and like you said, almost full circle. Of those years worth of racing, what was your favourite moment that you remember of the downhill circuit, of enduro? What's one scenario, one moment in time that really stands out to you as something that you hold close to your heart?
Oh, you put me on the spot. I don't know. I've had so many good times and memories, and yeah, I don't think I could put my finger on one. Obviously winning races and stuff has been special. Now that I'm a bit older, I like hardline last weekend. The crowd and everyone cheering me on and supporting me. That means just as much as winning a rainbow jersey back in the day. So there's so many good times, and I'm so thankful for everything that mountain biking's given me, and yeah, the life and experience that I've had from that.
We mentioned this at the start, you inspired a huge generation of people that are probably here today, and now we all have our own kids and yourself that are as part of the next generation. Does it give you a new kind of respect and admiration for the sport? Now you're bringing your kids up, you see a bunch of kids here that's the next generation of inspiration from Sam Hill?
Yeah, definitely. It's awesome to see how hard the kids are going at the moment, and sort of the level that they're going. Super young. I was in Queenstown a couple of weeks ago, and they had a national round coming up, and it was one just an Arvo. I went and rode the track, and it's right under the chairlift, and I was terrified at the speed some of these like teenage kids are going. It's crazy, and yeah, I think it's just the way that everything's progressing. The bikes are there for the kids. They've got a lot more access to seeing riders and venues like this and stuff like that. So it's super exciting to see what the future holds for these little rippers coming through.
Now you've had a pretty decorated career and you've got a huge following all around the world. I remember one time I think it was that 2018 year in Colombia, in Manizales, we were waiting for a street race, literally through the city, and you had to hide behind the fence and all people could see were your shoes. What is one fan interaction that you remember that was pretty wild over the years? It's 8:47, the kids are asleep.
Oh, I don't know. Colombia was a wild time. It was actually a bit scary. But yeah, I don't know. After the race at Colombia, we had like a security fence, and people were like bashing it down to try and get photos, and I was there trying.
Didn't you lose your shoes? Someone stole your shoes.
Probably. I was just trying to take photos like one at a time. I didn't need to be anywhere, but they were like storming the place down, and then we had like a security guard trying to hold people back because they were like trampling over other people. It was gnarly.
Well, there you go. Consider yourself warned, Threadbow. How much does it mean to you to have that support last weekend at Red Bull Hardline too? Essentially, it's like a new audience. You were there at the first one back in 2003. You haven't been on the downhill circuit the last couple of years, but to come back at Red Bull Hardline, you're on the start line, you put in a great run, and the crowd just loved having you there. How did that make you feel after such a decorated career and a turbulent couple of years?
Yeah, I think it's super special to me. I actually really enjoy having that support from the crowd and fans and stuff like that. And I think being younger and in the early days, like you see it and you witness it and you feel it, but you don't like it. You just don't have the same appreciation as what I do for it now. And yeah, it means a lot. I love people coming to get photos and autographs and wishing me good luck, and just having the support and people saying they're stoked to see me out there riding. It means a lot.
Well, I reckon on that cue, ladies and gentlemen, Threadbow, please put your hands together and thank Sam Hill for coming out tonight. You can see Sam racing the seeding tomorrow. It's going to be pouring with rain. Absolute favourite of his. That was not, says Timmy. Thanks, Sam, for coming out, mate. It's great to see you here in Threadbow, and we'll see you tomorrow and Saturday.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for sticking around.
Love your work, guys. Cheers. Well done, mate.
Back to me Mexican.
Well done.
Cheers, buddy.
No worries. That was great.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, you will.